Alright guys, so I wanted to make a quick video. You can check out the uneven black bars. That's how quick this video was. I literally just thing a little bit bigger. To basically just let you guys know what the expectations are going to be for the cast. I don't want to come off as patronizing in this in any way, shape, or form. You guys are good at what you do. I have confidence in you guys being able to do basically make a good cast, even if I hadn't done any of this stuff. I just thought it would be effective to make my expectations clear for what I expect the cast to be. So what I wanted to avoid, and kind of the major thing we'll be talking about, the reason I wanted to make this is I wanted to avoid a thing that I will just term as two people talking about a video game. That is a style of cast that I see a lot. It's a style of cast I don't really like. Now, two people talking about a video game sounds like the most basic way to describe a cast. And in essence, it is. But what I mean by that is there needs to be a responsibility that certain information is going to be conveyed to the viewer. And if we have a situation where it's just two people kind of talking about what they see, sometimes that information isn't reliably conveyed. So a simple example would be if you get caught up, into some sort of anecdote or something like that while something important is going along, there needs to be a defined role on who's supposed to bring you back to the action or who is supposed to start those anecdotes in the slow times anyway. So we will have defined roles, and these are not going to be rigid roles. These are very fluid. I think every single person here could fit both of the roles if I asked them to, but I do want to separate you guys just based on what I think you guys would be best at. So the play-by-play role, which is the person who's going to be dealing with the facts of the match, the person who is going to be acting in the host role and kind of keeping things on task, making sure all of the necessary information is getting conveyed to the viewer, and leading the analysis person, which is the next one, the analysis person into situations where they can talk about the game in interesting ways. Those people are going to be Suki, Corey, and Laser. You guys are going to be the play-by-play and host. And as far as the analysis and color, that'll be everybody else, which is Silver, Justin, Dustin, Link. You guys are going to be talking about the opinions of the match. You're going to be talking about potential flow of the match, how you think it's going to go, and how anything in any given situation might impact the future. In slow times, you'll be doing the anecdotes. You'll be the ones talking about the importance of taking field lane. You'll be the ones who are talking about, oh, this will impact the game 4 turns down, or this deck wants to do this game plan, and that sort of thing. Now, obviously, we want to see both from both. When you see the play-by-play person, I'm not going to say, hey, if you're on play-by-play, don't you dare talk about what you think is going to happen throughout the rest of the match, or don't you dare talk about, what you think about the archetype, because we want to see that from both of you guys, and you want to see analysis people like, oh, this is really interesting that they did this, and just talk about the facts of the match. It's just when it boils down to it, and you guys, and that needs to be done, those are the groups that we're going to be separated into. So just as basic things from what I want in-game from both of the people involved, the skills I'm looking for, introing in effective and concise ways, basically introducing what the two decks are and what the basics of the matchup are going to look like, and then passing it off to the next person for the analysis. What I'm looking for is not necessarily to be quite as concise, is to ability to ramble is probably the most simple way of putting it, I guess. Ability to take, hey, what do you think this matchup is about A-Bomb and of A-Bomb versus Mid-Dagoth, and then talk about that for 2 minutes while You Can Call Me Al thinks about whether or not he wants to play Mournhold Trader or Awakened Dreamer or something like that. There is going to be a lot of downtime just because of the inherent nature of card games. Once it gets competitive, you're having every single player is going to take basically the maximum amount of time. So ability to ramble is kind of a big deal. But then in that situation, again, the play-by-play person is kind of the person who's tasked with making sure once the action starts again, you come back to it. The play-by-play person will also be before the match, acting in the host role, introducing the tournament, any before tournament things or any before match things we might need to do, such as potential sponsors, info on how to sign up, current point standings, that kind of thing. And you'll also be introing deck lists. This is something I will want to mention for both of the roles. We will not be doing deck lists on screen. Deck lists will be available if in chat because you can export it from Battlefy, so we can set that up really easily. The reason we're not showing deck lists on screen is because we would have to do them ahead of time. Setting up a graphic right now for archetypes, which is what we're going to be doing, setting up a graphic for archetypes is something I can do in a minute when we're on break. So as soon as the last match ends, I look at the bracket, see where we're going next, and I can make that archetype image in Photoshop in about a minute. If I'm doing it with deck lists, it's probably going to take a lot longer, and it's also not going to look as good, strictly because 75 card decks kind of ruined any potential to have deck lists being shown on screen and look not crap. So they will be available, but they won't be on screen, which means when we are introing deck lists, it is going to be on you guys to know what they are and to mention anything that is out of the ordinary that people might not think about, like if or something that would be more relevant, like say you're going up against Doomcrag or something, say, oh, this person, there's no support removal in any of these lists, so those shrines are going to be online, like that kind of thing. So the play-by-play will be introing the decks. Analysis will be talking about the decks. Once you get past that, we'll be talking about matchups. Again, this is another one where you want to be leading questions from the play-by-play people saying, you know, this is an interesting sort of matchup that we might see based on the bans. How would you think this is going to play out? Who do you think is favored? That kind of thing. And then, again, I really want to stress this, guys. I don't want play-by-play to be just doing the thing that it's like, oh, I have to ask them what it is, and then I don't get to say my piece. Say your piece. Don't ever have any problem saying your piece. Just make sure you're leading it in that right way. So once the analysis person comes in, you can then fire back and say, oh, I disagree, or oh, I agree for X reasons, and then go from there. Next thing we're going to talk about is the technical aspect. Basically, just how functionally this is going to work on the day of the cast. I am going to be sending you guys a run of show. I was waiting until we had everything worked out and everything graphic-wise, which looks like it's going to be Sunday. So sometime early next week, I will give you guys a run of show, which is going to be guiding you guys through what everything is going to look like in terms of, you know, steps to cast, where you go from break to before game to post game back to break, basically how that's going to look. I will be giving that to you guys sometime early next week because I should be getting all the graphics on Sunday. Basically how this is going to work is it'll be 3-man casts for the qualifier tournaments. We will alternate 2. There will only ever be 2 people on any given cast. Occasionally for these, although less likely for these than the finals, we will bring on a guest person to come for the semifinals and the finals, just to include people from the community. You guys can decide how these rotations are going to work, or you can let me decide. I don't really care either way. You will need 2 accounts, and you will need a way to view both hands. Now, there is 2 ways to do this. If you guys haven't done this before, if you haven't done casts which have required you to look at both hands, first of all, I think in other casts, I think specifically with Costa, he has screen shared with you guys. Now, that is something I don't actually have the capability to do. I can do it, but it will tank my upload speed, and we need to make sure the upload is happening in the best possible way, so you guys won't actually see what is directly on my screen. There will have to be some nonverbal communication. I can send you guys messages, and there will also be situations where I talk to you guys where the audience doesn't hear it, because I can flip on my microphone for just Discord and not for here. I may use that to convey information to you guys. But you will need a way to look at both hands. The 2 ways you can do it is, number 1, you can launch 2 versions of the same application. If you have Windows 10, install it on the Bethesda launcher and on Steam. Launch the Steam version. Find where the Bethesda launcher is installed. Take the exe from that and put it on your taskbar. And after you have launched the Steam version, shift-click the one on the taskbar. That will launch a second application of the game. It will probably also prompt you to re-log in, but it will let you log in through 2 applications. The other one is to use an Android emulator if you want to go with that way, because if you don't have Windows 10 or something like that, you can find any Android emulator. The one I've used is BlueStacks. It's total crap, so if you can find a better one, go with that instead. And you will have to manually install the APK. If you search for Elder Scrolls Legends APK, there's a couple different places where you can find it. Manually install the APK, and then you can log in on there, view with both. I would recommend, if you have Windows 10, to just go with the one that lets you just run 2 separate versions of the application, but I don't know how your computers are, so I don't know if that's functional for you guys. If you have any issues with either one of those where you can't get it done, let me know. There is a third option, which I'm looking into because I'm going to need to for the visual aspect of the cast. But that one's going to be a little bit more complicated, so I will we'll save that for a just-in-case scenario. But the other aspect is, since you guys aren't going to be seeing what is actually being displayed to the viewer, you can basically use that to your advantage. You don't have to pretend like that's not the case. For instance, if you want to say, we're in a Stealer Secrets or a Flash Astronaut game, and you need to check on the graveyard to see number of actions or number of creatures, you can just do something simple like, hey, production, can we get a check on X? And we'll do that. And that's something that's not going to be too hard to do, so you can use communication, you can make the audience part of it, say, hey, you can refer to me just as production, whatever you guys might need in any case. We will be doing card inserts. I'm not 100% on how those are going to look yet, so we won't be able to do callbacks for those, like, hey, can we get that card shown on screen? But we can say, hey, can we hover over X, or can we hover over Y, just to remind the viewers how many items are on this, what the effect is, especially because we're starting right after Isle of Madness, to show you what a new card is. Because the card inserts are going to have to be pre-made, so we're not going to be able to do stuff on the fly for that, because probably going to be having to make those animations in After Effects. Still trying to figure out exactly how we're doing that. It shouldn't be too hard, but it is something we're probably going to have to pre-make. But yeah, if there's things that you think need to be conveyed to the viewer, like those graveyard counts, like hovering over card text for people that don't know it, say, hey, production, can we get X? Another aspect of this is we're probably not going to be using caster cams, at least for the first couple of tournaments or so. The reason behind this is for consistency and quality, and this is not something I'm 100% on, so if you have an opinion on this, please speak up. But there is issues with doing caster cams in terms of people have different setups, in terms of where they're set up. People have different quality of cameras, and there's a lot of reasons where this using caster cams could potentially represent a lower quality of experience than we might be trying to present. And I'm really interested if you guys have opinions on this, if there's something creative you might want to do instead of caster cams, just to display visually something on screen for you guys. But I think initially we're going to be not using the caster cams, and we'll probably revisit that in a couple of weeks and see how people's reactions are. Because I worry that it could convey it could convey a lot of personality for you guys. Like, it could be somewhere where you connect to the viewers more easily because they see you, but at the same time, we really want to move into a different level of professionalism than the community casts that we've had so far. Not that they have been unprofessional, but we do want to make sure people are aware that this isn't quite as just a couple of people putting something together. This is something that we're really putting work into, and I worry that the caster cams might undermine that a little bit. Again, I'm really not 100% on that. If you guys have opinions on it, let me know. I'd be happy to talk to you guys about that. So I think that's it for about now. As far as day of, what we're going to be doing, I would appreciate it if we can make sure we're present about say 45 minutes or so before the tournament starts, just to make sure. Big thing is to do sound check and potentially a brief rehearsal, because I think getting 7 people together at the same time to do a rehearsal is a little bit unrealistic, so incorporating these in the actual casts would be good. You know, potentially just doing a couple of practice games just to get everybody warmed up and stuff like that. So if that's an issue, I know Link has time zone problems. Let me know, and we could potentially work on setting up different rehearsals if you guys couldn't consistently make about 45 minutes before the tournament starts to do those. But I think that's probably the best option, just in terms of getting everybody on the same page at the same time. Otherwise, we'd have to basically organize something else outside of this, which involves again a lot of people. So that's going to be it. I think it should be done. I might do another video if there's a couple things that I remember, or I might just let you guys know through Discord. Once again, I do want to state that I don't think any of this is going to be new to you guys or hard for you guys, and none of this is going to be like super rigid. Most of this stuff is, this is a dialogue between me and you guys. This is not something there are some things I feel very strongly about, but mostly I just want you guys to have fun doing this. I want the viewers to have fun doing this. It's just about making expectations clear, so you know what I expect as what I think should be a good viewer experience, and how I think that should be achieved. So basically, the key message of this is just do what you're doing. I think if most of you guys do what you've done on previous casts, it's not going to be much of an issue. It's going to be basically what I described without you guys even trying to do it. But just setting those expectations, I think, is valuable. So I will see you guys soon. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any comments, let me know. We can talk either through PMs, or if you wanted to post in this Discord, go for that too. I think I'm good. Thanks, guys.